you all enjoyed Cry Danger. Thank you for coming out to the second half of tonight's double bill. As many of you know, if you've been here through the first part of the festival, the theme of this year's festival is the women, because I have a book coming out very soon, Dark City Dames, the revised and expanded edition. The genesis of that book was all happened right here in the Egyptian theater. The first year that we did this festival, which was 26 years ago, and so we're featuring a lot of films in this fest, starring the women who appeared here in the theater 26 years ago, and I wrote about them, profiled them in my book, Dark City Dames. You're about to see two of them in the movie that is up next. Evelyn Keyes is the star of the film, and in a wonderful, vivid supporting role is Marie Windsor. So first, before I get into any of that, before I forget my business, let me tell you, we did a little donation drive for the Film Noir Foundation. If you're just coming to the game a little late, this is presented, the Noir City Festival is presented by the Film Noir Foundation in conjunction with the American Cinematheque. We raise, all the money that we raise here goes into rescuing and restoring films like Cry Danger that you just saw, and The Prowler that we are showing tomorrow, which was the very first restoration we did at the foundation. And we did a donation drive today. We thank the folks who contributed. We'll be doing another one tomorrow, but the winner of the donation drive is Kaori Griffith. Is Kaori Griffith in the house? Come on, Kaori.
Yes, she is.
Applaud.
There she is.
No, now you're cheating. There has to be just one person, because if you're not in the house...
She's here.
Okay, good. Then see Margaret McGregor, who's sitting right here out at the merch table. We have a little swag bag to thank you for your generous donation. We will do that again tomorrow. Okay, the picture that you're about to see, I call it Tiki Noir. So those of you who are into that, you're in for a treat if you haven't seen this movie before. I think they attracted a pretty good cast to this film, and the bait was that the whole thing was going to be shot on location in Hawaii in 1953, I think it was. The script is by Steve Fisher. I call him the redoubtable Steve Fisher because he is a pulp meister from the 1930s turned very prolific Hollywood screenwriter, and he cranked this thing out. It has all the earmarks of an absolutely ridiculous Steve Fisher plot that he somehow manages to pull off, and it is directed by a really interesting guy, John Auer, who was born in Hungary, and he was a child actor in Hungary who came to the United States at the beginning of the talking picture era and didn't really crack the ranks. He wanted to become a director, and it didn't really work, so he moved to Mexico. And that's where he began his directing career in Mexico, and then finally came back to the States and worked largely for B production outfits like Mascot, things like that, until he hooked up with Republic Pictures, where he made most of the movies in his career. He did back-to-back two really terrific noir films, City That Never Sleeps, that was shot on location in Chicago, and then Hell's Half Acre, like I said, shot on location in Hawaii. And this was a big deal for Herb Yates' Republic Pictures because they spent a lot of money going to Hawaii to shoot this in the real notorious red light district, Hell's Half Acre, which was frequented by American servicemen during World War II for their R&R, if you know what I mean. But I really want to talk about Evelyn Keyes because she is one of the most remarkable people I've ever met in my life. I met her right here 26 years ago in this theater, and we ended up becoming very, very good friends. And at the time that you'll also see her tomorrow in The Prowler. She is the star of The Prowler. But at the time she had made this film, she had decided to leave Hollywood. She was not particularly happy with her career. She had an excellent career in Hollywood. I mean, she hit the deck running. She came here. She was immediately signed to a contract by Cecil B. DeMille. She made The Buccaneer with Frederick March and, really started at the top in A Pictures. She, of course, played Scarlett O'Hara's younger sister in Gone with the Wind, which is the movie she is still most known for. And she was mostly under contract at Columbia Pictures, but she felt they never really used her properly. And so after making The Prowler and a couple of other films in the early 1950s, she decided to just leave Hollywood completely and just lead kind of a hedonistic lifestyle, first in South America and then in Europe. She was married to a number of very prominent men here in Hollywood. Charles Vidor, the director, John Huston, another director, and then making this film. She would eventually marry and live with Artie Shaw, the great Artie Shaw, for 11 years, but she came back from Europe to Hollywood in 1953 just to collect some things in anticipation of going back to Europe. But she was invited to come in to look at a script by Edward Small, the producer of this film, and she met producer Mike Todd at that same time, and that began a very combustible relationship with Mike Todd, and that's why she stayed in America to make this movie and the film 99 River Street. Those were the two movies that she made. Here's what I'll say about Evelyn. When I did the book, I asked all of the actresses as a starting point, just to kind of break the ice talking to them, to give me their favorite word. What's your favorite word, I would say, just to get an idea of who I was dealing with. And Audrey Totter said grace. And Jane Greer said harmony. Harmony is my favorite word. And Colleen Gray said, well, Eddie, it would be a sacrilege if I said anything other than God is my favorite word. I said, Evelyn, what's your favorite word? Didn't hesitate. Cocksucker. There you go. She said, I like the way it sounds, and I like what it means. Wow. Evelyn and I had a very interesting relationship. She was the smartest person I had ever met until I met Marcia Hunt. And these are the two smartest people, not just women. These are the two smartest people I've ever known in my life. She jumped at the chance to do this just to go to Hawaii and hang out and get a suntan and really enjoy Elsa Lanchester, who is her co-star in this film. She is really, really wonderful. Wendell Corey, I think, drank his way through the entire movie, which might show up a little bit on screen. You'll recognize many of the other players in this film, including Jesse White. And I want to just point out that there's a guy in this movie named Leonard Strong, who probably is the most incorrect career in the history of Hollywood. Because Leonard Strong was from Salt Lake City, Utah, white guy, and he made his entire career out of playing Asian characters on screen, including a famous one in the TV series Get Smart, where he was after the Claw, but nobody knew he was after the Claw because he kept saying, the craw, and it's like the kind of stuff you just do not see any longer. And that was Leonard Strong's entire career, was playing that character. So you'll recognize him in this film. Anyway, it's really a fun movie. Sometimes noir is very serious. I mean, if you were here earlier today and saw Destroyer and you need a palate cleanser after the misery of that movie, Cry Danger and Hell's Half Acre, we kind of designed it that way. Because do not take this seriously. This is noir as just a fun amusement park ride, featuring the fabulous Evelyn Keyes. So enjoy. Here's Hell's Half Acre.